Hi, welcome to episode 11 of Behind the Panel with Jimmy Purcell. Now, I bet you're wondering, who the hell is Jimmy Purcell? That's a good question. I'm a Southern Californian comic book artist, and I work on a bunch of stuff, primarily webcomics. There's Been Better at beenbettercomic.com. Dark Crusader, that's with Jack of All Nerds. The website's right there. And Good Cop, Cat Cop, that's a new one that just came out this year. And these videos pretty much are just me talking about trivia about those comics that I made within the week. Now, this one we actually covered 2 weeks because I was at Wondercon. See, there I am at the Ninja Turtles panel with Alex Weitzman, the voice of Pie Guy. So let's start talking about comics. First comic we'll talk about is Good Cop, Cat Cop. This one was about how cats will randomly bolt out of a room with no reason whatsoever. This time I got to be the criminal being interrogated in the comic. We allow our readers to be the criminal by just going to our Facebook page. Go to our photos and follow the rules in this photo. You could also email me at this email address right here. I'll email you the rules and then we'll go from there. Now let's talk about the Dark Crusader. In this comic, the Dark Crusader finally meets face to face with a shadowy figure, the head of Hydrant, who finally reveals himself as the Robo Crusader. I mean, who saw that surprise coming? Yeah, but to be fair, I know about the script, I know where the plot's going way ahead of time, so. Now, in this comic, the Dark Crusader explains that the Robo Crusader is his sidekick, and then the Robo Crusader comments on how he had his back broken by Phil, and the Dark Crusader completely forgot about him in the hospital. Which totally happened. If we go back to February of 2015, we see Phil break the Dark Crusader's back. Then we find out that it wasn't the Dark Crusader, it was his sidekick. And then we see his sidekick in the hospital with a broken back, which explains the robotic torso that we see in the current strip. In the strip, the Robo Crusader explains that he's going to punch the Dark Crusader with a time travel punch, which happened to him before, just before he got his back broken, which explains why the Robo Crusader is so keen on doing it to the Dark Crusader. The Robo Crusader makes do with his threat, punches Dark Crusader back into last week's strip, which we saw he saves his past self, and when he climbs back through the time rip, I guess, he finds that the Robo Crusader is gone. I don't know why, but I find it really amusing, the idea that in this comic, time is like a curtain where you can actually be blasted through to the next strip or the past strip, whichever. I even had some fun with it by showing one of Dapper Hazard's henchmen looking through the rip from the past. And at the end of the comic, we see that Dark Crusader and Phil get to see each other again. And their paths haven't crossed since last April, so we'll see what happens with that next week. For now, we'll talk about Been Better. The 2 weeks worth of comics starts off where I'm talking to the feminist voters and trying to convince them to vote for the candidate who has really fought for women's rights and not just the female. Feel the burn. Then the Wondercon Comics start, and the first one starts where me and Nathaniel end up in Wonderland instead of WonderCon, and you can see the Griffin, the Mock Turtle, and Alice sitting in the background. Originally it was going to be the Walrus and the Carpenter in the background, but then I looked into it and I saw the Walrus and the Carpenter are from Alice Through the Looking Glass, not Alice in Wonderland. Not that any of my readers are going to be like, what the hell, why is this character here? But it's just something that I wanted, and whatever, I'm crazy. And I'd like to point out that over the years, there's been plenty of Wonderland characters in my comics. The Caterpillar in 2009, the Mad Hatter and the March Hare in 2012, and the Red Queen in 2013. I think that's all of them. Maybe. The next Wondercon comic is me cosplaying as a Joker threatening a Deadpool cosplayer. That ending line was a little too ambiguous. Some people thought that I was actually on the side of the Deadpool cosplayer. But no, I should have used the phrase, ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight, and that should have been the last dialogue. But the reason why I made that comic was because a lot of times the Deadpool cosplayers take advantage of the idea that, that the character is such a dick that they can be obnoxious and rude to other people and be like, oh, look at this, I'm in character. I hate that. I mean, the Deadpool cosplayer, the Deadpool character is fun, it's funny, But when cosplayers take advantage of that, it just pisses me off. And I've seen videos where they sexually harass female cosplayers, and sexual harassment's not fun at all. It's not cool at all. Then the Easter comic has me taking a photo of a fake Easter cosplay group with the Easter Bunny, Zombie Jesus, an Easter Island Dude, and Eostre, or Eostre, however you pronounce that goddess's name. The next comic, I'm on a date with a fictional character inspired by Karen Page in Daredevil Season 2. The next comic is another A3 explanation, and it's the, The Arbitration Association of America? I think that's what it's called. And next one, I'm just advertising about the Packing House show, which I'm a part of last Sunday. The next comic is another Bovie Barista comic. I'm looking very forward to showing you the next Bovie the Barista comic. In fact, here's a sneak peek. See? There it is. You'll see it sometime in April. The April Fool's comic, I flipped it upside down, and the Jack of all nerds response to it made it totally worth it. The next comic shows a young me focusing more on the real Ghostbusters than my parents' divorce. Which I'm sure if I had a therapist, they'd probably say something about how watching cartoons and reading comics is my way of escaping, serious subjects. But I don't have a therapist. That's it for comics, but I am involved in a Disney 30-day art challenge that I'm going to do throughout April. My friend Jamie made it with her friend, and you can see my drawings on Instagram. But here's 2 of them. The first one was the Disney character I most identified with, and the second was my favorite Disney princess. I'm pretty sure that it was Princess Jasmine that got me attracted to women with thick eyebrows. That does it for episode 11. The first episode of the month I put on YouTube. I put it publicly for people to watch, but all the other ones are going to be on my Patreon page, which you can view for less than $1 a month. So go check it out if you want to see more insanity that goes behind my comics. Until next week, I'll see you.